Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to get into the real state of artificial intelligence as we head into 2026. We're going to push past the headlines and the hype to really understand the huge shifts that are happening right now, from the tools on your screen to the actual infrastructure that's powering our world. So here's our game plan. We've got 5 key themes we're going to unpack. First, this idea of a new silicon workforce. Then we'll ask the trillion-dollar question, is this a bubble or a historic build-out? We'll look at how the tech is moving way faster than our ability to govern it. Then we'll get personal and see how this is all affecting our jobs and our lives. And finally, we'll look at what's just over the horizon. All right, let's dive right in. The first and maybe most concrete trend is this new type of AI, one that doesn't just talk, it does things. It's like a whole new workforce is being built, but it's made of code and silicon. And the vision that's being sold by the big players, it is incredibly ambitious. I mean, this quote from Accenture really says it all. The idea is that in just a few years, autonomous AI systems won't just be tools we use, they'll be fundamental players in how businesses run. So what does this buzzword, Agentic AI, actually mean? Well, think of it as a huge leap. We're going from AI as a passive assistant that you ask questions to an active digital worker that you can give a goal to, like, hey, plan my entire business trip to Singapore, and it just goes and does it, all the steps completely on its own. But here's where we get a reality check. You see this huge gap between the dream and what's actually happening. Almost 3/4 of companies want to deploy these things, but only a tiny fraction, just over 10%, actually have them up and running in a real way. So what gives? Well, for one, the tech is still a bit fragile. And honestly, there's a huge trust issue. Handing over the keys to a critical business process to an AI, that's a massive leap of faith most are not quite ready to make.
Okay, so to make that silicon workforce a reality, you need a mountain of cash and an insane amount of hardware. So let's talk about the colossal engine of money and machines that's driving this whole thing. And this brings us to the central fight in the market right now. You've got very smart people like OpenAI's Brett Taylor saying, hey, this is probably a bubble and it's going to pop. But then you have NVIDIA's Jensen Huang saying, no, you don't get it. This is the biggest infrastructure build-out in the history of humanity. So who's right? The tricky part is, maybe they both are. Maybe we're in a crazy, hype-fueled bubble that is also funding a genuine world-changing revolution.
And when we say the scale is staggering, we are not kidding. We're talking about an $85 trillion vision. We're talking about a single new data center that needs as much power as a small city. The numbers are so big that financial regulators are now seriously worried that $1 trillion in AI debt could pose a risk to the entire system. Of course, all this spending leads to the obvious question, how are you going to pay for it all? And on this, the big players are taking totally different paths. OpenAI is dipping its toes into putting ads right inside ChatGPT, which makes you wonder if you can really trust the answers. But then you have Google DeepMind saying, whoa, ads are way too premature, and they're betting that keeping things ad-free will build more user trust in the long run. Look, the reason this whole bubble or build-out thing matters to everyone is because it has real consequences. If all this money gets spent and the demand from actual customers doesn't show up fast enough, well, the investment money could just dry up. And that would change the economic landscape for tech almost overnight. And this speed, this frantic pace of building, brings us to a real crisis point. We're creating this new world so fast, but our ability to actually manage it, to put rules in place, is falling dangerously behind. It's like the car is speeding down the highway, but nobody's totally sure who's steering. I want you to just let this one sink in. For 9 out of every 10 people, the line between what's real and what's a fake video has basically vanished. This isn't some far-off problem for our grandkids to solve. This is right now. The tech is here. So you might be thinking, well, can't we just use AI to spot the AI fakes? The answer, alarmingly, is no. Look at these numbers. The top AI chatbots, they are terrible at this. They fail spectacularly. We're in a bizarre situation where we literally cannot trust the machines to spot their own fakes. The watchdog is blind. And this isn't just a what if. The mess around the Grok AI model is a perfect step-by-step example of what happens when governance breaks down. A powerful tool is released, bad actors use it to cause real harm, regulators jump in, big organizations protest, and boom, trust just evaporates. It's a domino effect. Now, it's not all doom and gloom.
The good news is people are scrambling to build some guardrails. You've got governments like Singapore creating frameworks, security experts publishing risk lists, and tech standards like C2PA trying to verify where images and videos come from. The race is on. But the big question is, can they catch up in time? Okay, so let's bring this all the way down from the clouds. Forget the trillions of dollars for a second and talk about you and me. How is this wave of technology actually showing up in our jobs, in our creativity, and even in our mental health? You'd think that people actually building this stuff would agree on when the really big changes are coming. Well, they don't. The leaders of the top labs have completely different timelines for AGI. That's artificial general intelligence, the point where AI is as smart as a human. One CEO says it could be just a couple of years away. Another says maybe closer to 2030. That kind of uncertainty makes it pretty tough for the rest of us to plan. And for all the headlines about AI taking over, the reality on the ground today might actually surprise you. Right now, almost half of all workers say they never use AI for their job. It just goes to show you there's a huge gap between the chatter and the day-to-day reality for most people. So what about creativity? Is that safe? Well, a really fascinating study put AI head-to-head with humans, and the results were pretty clear. Sure, AI can do okay on average tasks, but when it comes to the really rich, imaginative stuff, like powerful storytelling, the best humans still have a clear edge. So our most creative minds aren't obsolete just yet. But there is a more cautionary note we have to sound here. A recent medical study found a connection, a correlation, between people who use personal chatbots a lot and a higher chance of reporting symptoms of depression and anxiety. Now, we don't know the cause, but it's a serious red flag that we need to be really thoughtful about how these tools affect our well-being. So while we're all trying to figure this out on a personal level, the technological ground is constantly shifting underneath us. So for this last part, let's look ahead at the really mind-bending breakthroughs and the global power shifts that are shaping what comes next. One of the most incredibly exciting things happening is what AI is doing for science. The speed of discovery is just exploding. We're seeing things that were pure science fiction a few years ago. You've got AI designing brand new enzymes from scratch, which could change everything from industry to medicine. You have AI giving robots a sense of the world in 4D, a huge step for self-driving cars. This isn't just making science faster, it's unlocking discoveries that were simply impossible before. And as this tech grows up, the global map of AI is being completely redrawn. For a while, it seemed like the whole game was Western companies building these massive, closed-off supermodels. But now, there's a huge surge of powerful, practical, and open-source models coming out of China. And they're getting picked up everywhere because they're often cheaper and easier to adapt. The future might not be one giant AI, but a whole ecosystem of different models from all over the world. And that brings us right to the end, to the one question that sums all of this up. The biggest change, the one thing driving everything we've talked about, is that AI is moving beyond just giving us answers. It's starting to take actions. It's the difference between a calculator and a self-driving car. The question is no longer if this is going to happen. It's happening. The only question left is, are we ready for it?